For the people that are watching this, like, give yourself like a little quick introduction, you know what I mean? Because some people may not know who you are. So like
Mhm.
give us a little quick introduction to who you are.
So I am Olivia Bossert. I'm a fashion photographer, an artist, an AI artist, and also an educator. So I've been working in the fashion industry for over a decade, which is a little bit mad. I am originally from Switzerland and I moved to the UK when I was 18, so fairly young. And then I stayed here to pursue my career. I primarily work with brands that are like Daisy Jewelry, so a lot of jewelry brands, a lot of feminine clothing brands, and then I've done sort of all the magazines as well. So it's been a really fun career so far, and I'm excited to see where it goes next.
That's really cool. That's really cool because I didn't know you were from Switzerland. So that's why you speak French, right? Because obviously I've seen on
Yes.
your about page that you speak French. So tell me more about that. Do you think that lands you more jobs with like French clients because you speak French, or does that like not have any relation?
So I've not actually done a whole lot of pitching myself in France. Hang on one second.
Right.
Milo, can you not lick your feet, please? Sorry, you're gonna have to do a bit of editing because the dog's gonna be definitely
Right.
barking at some point. So when it comes to like French clients, I've not actually done a whole lot of outreach to outside of the UK. When I set up my business, I was very intentional that I didn't want to do loads of travel for various different reasons. So I've really focused on pitching myself to UK followings. However, in the last sort of 6 months, I have started to branch out a bit. So I have been doing a lot more outreach to French brands and French advertising agencies, and it's definitely working. So I do plan to head over to France, Switzerland, all those sort of European countries in the next few months. So we'll see what happens there.
That's pretty cool. When was the last time you spoke French to someone?
Oh, every day because I speak French to my dad, so like all the
Right.
time.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I want to ask that because I feel like I know a lot of people in the film industry that like speak a little bit of Spanish or something, and
Yeah.
they because of that, they land those like jobs. They land like Spanish jobs in Spain or something like that. And I feel like that's something I want to get into. I feel like I want to start speaking Spanish or something like that or French.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's loads of work in Spain. I do go over to Spain quite a lot and I don't speak hardly very good Spanish. I can understand a lot of it, but I do think it's an advantage definitely to have another language and be able to communicate in different languages because people just prefer speaking in their native language when they're working. They just do. So it's a little perk.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I want to go down to like your origin story, basically, Olivia. I want to go down to when did you start doing fashion photography? What made you get into it? Like why? Like that type of stuff.
Yeah. So I have always been obsessed with clothes. Like since I was really small, I was always like a horse girl, which is obsessed with horses and animals. So for a long time, I thought I was going to be an equestrian. And
Oh,
then when I probably turned like 14, I was like, oh, I didn't actually like competing. So that didn't work. And I'd always been very creative and artistic and loved fashion. So I thought, okay, well, I'll go and work in the fashion industry. But quickly dawned on me that I wasn't very good at sewing. I still can't sew a button. And I was like, oh, I don't think that's what I want to do. So I was genuinely at that sort of age where everyone's like, oh, what are you going to be when you grow up? I was like, I don't really know. Um, but I knew I want to do something creative because I couldn't imagine myself writing all day long, doing sort of a desk job. That just didn't feel like it was for me. So I took my art classes, like I was always in art class, and one of the projects we had to do was obviously just doing lots of art history research and researching stuff. And I landed on Flickr, which is an old website now, but at the time it was kind of like the Instagram of the day. And I found this girl's image and I realized when I looked at her profile that she was the same age as me. And I was like, oh my goodness, I had no idea that people like me could take photos. It had never occurred to me. I don't know why. Obviously, I knew that everyone took pictures and I knew that we needed photographs to like sell stuff, but that had never been something that had crossed my scope of mind that I could be a photographer. So my parents had probably bought a DSLR for the family maybe 6 months prior to me finding this out. So I stole that and that became mine. And I went on the internet and just taught myself how to use a camera. Started off doing a lot of self-portraits because that was the easiest thing I could do to sort of learn and use myself as the subject matter. I didn't show it to anyone. I didn't tell anyone. I was sort of uploading these to Flickr with anonymous handles and just uploading it for fun. And then I started applying to universities. I really was like, okay, no, I really love this. I want to be a photographer. So I had to start sharing that work a little bit more, which was a little bit scary. But I ended up on the year I graduated school, so high school, I made a Facebook page
Okay.
which is also very old school. And I started asking if any people in my local areas, this was still in Switzerland, wanted to have their photo taken. And I spent all summer just for free taking photos of friends, friends of friends, and practicing on people that weren't me. And that was an amazing experience. And I still have, like, I made a little book at the end of that summer with all the work I'd done, and it's really nice to look at. So that's really cute. And then I went off to uni and I moved to the UK. I went to Falmouth in Cornwall, which is about 5 hours from London. It's a beautiful part of the world and but it is quite remote. So I lived there, I did uni there for 4 years, ended up studying fashion photography in that university, which was amazing. It was the first year that they ever taught it. So I was really lucky that I was just in the right place at the right time. And then I stayed in Cornwall because I met my now husband while I was at uni, and I lived down there for 10 years. So I had to get a bit scrappy with how I was getting my work because I was so far from the main industry. So that's how I kind of landed on the ways that I get my work now. Still the same ways.
Lovely. That's so cool. Yeah, I think definitely what you talked about when you're saying you're taking as many photos as possible of yourself, of other people. That is something that I've definitely recommended on my channel as well, is if you're starting out as like a fashion or portrait photographer, just take advantage of, like, take the opportunity to take pictures of literally anyone. Again, even
Yeah,
yourself. Like, that's what you have to do to it's the experience that you have to do. I feel like it's nice to obviously like watch courses and YouTube videos and that type of stuff, but like
yeah.
actually going out there with a camera, learning how the settings work, learning how to compose your image, lighting, how to talk to your model, all that type of stuff. I think that is so important.
Yeah.
And yeah, like what you did with like taking self-portraits and pictures of other people, you would say that's definitely helped you progress.
It's the foundation of everything. There is no point in watching loads of YouTube videos, like you say, without flexing that muscle. And I like to talk about my camera feeling like an extension of my body. So I don't think about what I'm doing when I'm holding my camera. It just happens naturally because I'm so attuned to it now. And I've been using Nikon since then. So I've never changed system just because it's so ingrained in my DNA how to use those cameras. Never say never, but at the moment I'm still with Nikon. And I think that it's so important if you want to be able to not just think constantly about your camera settings and be able to engage with a model in particular, you have to just not think about what you've got in your hand and be able to just take the image and then really get what you want out of the model. If you aren't technically adept and you're not comfortable with a camera, you're going to find it really hard to get that best image out of the model about the environment around you and everything else. So it all adds up. So just practice, 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 practice is the best advice I'll give anyone.
100%. And going on that, as you obviously, let's say you're out of the beginning stages now, you've been doing for portrait or fashion photography for quite a while. So that's like a few years or whatever. You built up a portfolio. How many shoots, not like a specific number, but like how many shoots would you think you should do? Like how frequently should you be shooting as a more advanced photographer? Because obviously you said at the beginning stages you want to do as much as possible, but does that change as
Yeah.
you get more experienced?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you feel like, the camera really is like another body part, that's how I look at it. I don't think you need to be shooting as much. And the test shooting is great to do for flexing those muscles, for building that portfolio, for getting technically adept. But at some point, the shooting needs to stop being, I'm just playing and having fun, to intentional building a portfolio that is going to get you hired by clients. There is no point in just carrying on doing random shoots, random shoots, random shoots just for the fun of it. Sometimes they're great, don't get me wrong. But a lot of the time, what I see people doing is just shooting loads of stuff, thinking they what they need to do is like just shoot constantly when they're not actually taking the time to plan their shoots out thoroughly and really think about what that shoot is going to do for them. Every single piece in your portfolio should be delivering some kind of value and be showing to your clients what you're capable of. So they all need to have a purpose. So that is why I say slow down, take a minute, really plan those shoots. And you don't need that many shoots in your portfolio to actually be able to go and get clients. It's like I say it's five. So the way I teach it is you do five shoots over 3 months, really planned out. You've got a portfolio that you can go and get clients with. It's really that quick, but you need to obviously have that technical ability to just do that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, 5 shoots. Okay. Yeah, nice. Um, What's your opinion on, because obviously you said doing those 5 shoots, what's your opinion on like spending your own money on the shoots, funding it yourself? Because especially me, the last like month or so, I feel like I've spent a lot of money on my own shoots that I've done. Like obviously I've been shooting film recently, so I've been like buying film, like all the expensive stuff, you know what I mean? So it costs like it was like £75 for a 5 pack, like of like is ridiculous. And then
Yeah.
yeah, like doing all of that, would you say, is there like a limit of how much money you should spend on your own photo shoots, for example? Is that like a limit you should have, or should you just go all out? Like it doesn't matter how much.
No, I think we need to be conscious, clever business owners. Like we are really running a business, right? So in the way that a big brand, a big company has a marketing budget, you need to set aside your own marketing budget and say to yourself, okay, my marketing budget is I'm either going to put all of that into photo shoots because that's what I want to prioritize right now, or maybe I'm going to put some of it into shoots and some of it into advertising, some of it into getting help with my social media, things like that. But if you don't have a big budget, that's okay. You can still do a lot with very little. The majority of my beginnings of my portfolio were done literally 5 minutes from my house, wherever I was living. There was no money gone into them. It was just me with makeup artists that I sort of brought on board because they were also building their portfolios. And we would find a really cool location, get a model on board who also wanted to build their portfolio, and we would all lift ourselves up together. We're all working together to create that work that's going to get us that money in the long term. So look at it as an investment. If you want to invest a little bit of money into them, absolutely do it. Obviously, if there are certain things you want to achieve, like you want a really specific type of studio lighting, or you want to shoot in a really specific location, and you'll thinking of it as an investment towards, okay, the brands I want to work with, I know that they love seeing stuff like this. It's something that I really want in my portfolio. I'm going to spend £200 on XYZ, and that's going to go towards my marketing budget and building me to the point. I'm going to make that back. I'm going to make that back in like 2 minutes. But it's being clever about it, not just throwing tons of money at stuff just because you're like, oh, I need to do it all. I need to like show that I'm capable and everyone else seems to be spending loads of money on their shoot, so I should do it too. Like we were all running our own businesses and we need to be conscious, clever business owners about how we're going about making those investments.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess a little follow up, is it really follow up? I don't know. A follow up to that would be, let's say if someone is starting out, if someone's watching this video, the fashion photographer, they're starting out, want to build their portfolio. How open do you think they should be to these more collaborative and free shoots? Because I know I've spoke to a lot of people, fashion photographers, that say, "Oh, I want to start getting paid right now. I want to start getting money right now. I don't want to do free shoots." But I keep saying to them that like you got to do those free shoots to then land those paid shoots. So how? So again, someone who's starting out, would
Yeah.
how open do you think that person should be to doing those collaborative shoots with models and with makeup artists and stylists and stuff?
Okay, I think there's two different criteria here. Either the shoot is paying you really well and you don't really care what the shoot is of, it could be anything, it's just a money job. Or let's say you get approached by a brand you adore that you think they're really going to elevate your portfolio, they're going to give you loads of experience, but they're either their budget is really small or non-existent and they're asking you to do it for free. You have a choice there. It's completely up to you. There is no right or wrong. It is coming down to gut feeling and are you excited about working with them? Do you think you can learn something really valuable there? Is it going to contribute? Are you going to make a connection? Are you going to Of course.
It's fine. Dog problems, guys. Dog problems. What's going on?
Okay. Sorry, got cut off, but basically, it's a gut decision. And I don't think one thing I recommend is not replying to things immediately. So if you get someone emailing you and they're like, we really want to do a shoot with you, but we have no money, or we have very little money, you don't need to make a decision immediately. I used to be so bad at just being like, oh my God, okay, I'm going to reply really quickly. And then I would be actually a bit regretful because I hadn't considered it enough and I hadn't really thought about the pros and the cons. So take some time before you reply to email, any job opportunity, just take a breather, give it a few hours. Just you don't have to reply to things instantly. I know there's a bit of a culture of like hustle, get there fast, but nothing's going to happen if you don't reply to them within 5 minutes. So take a minute. The other thing I will say is that when I was starting out and I was trying to build my skills, learn what being on a set was like, build a portfolio of work that was a little bit more commercial that I could show to people what I could do for them, it was really valuable to me to offer free shoots one time.
Mm,
So what I did was I approached brands and I said, I will do a photo shoot for you for social media, for example. It's quite low lift. I would do a very short, simple shoot, do it once, and then the rest of the time they wanted to work with me, it was a paid shoot. But it
mm,
showed them what I was capable of. And then I was like, but it was very clear from day one, this is a one-time thing to show you what I can do.
mm. Okay. You're nice. Okay, that's cool. I guess a little follow-up to that would be, would you rather, what's your opinion on giving cheaper rates to like a new client to build that like initial bridge between you two and to almost like take away the risk of like rejection, so per se? Because I feel like a lot of fashion photographers, even me in the past, has been like, I might charge a little bit less because I don't want to like get rejected. I want to actually get the job. Or should I do that or just completely just give it away for free, like you just said?
It's a difficult one. So what I say is I have a recommendation in my programs that everyone has their absolute minimum rate that they will do for a paid job. Again, it's like if you want to do the job with the client and you're happy and you want to go lower, it's completely fine. But it's really important to bear in mind that once you've worked with someone at a lower rate, it's hard to go up. It's not possible. It is doable, but it's harder and it takes a little bit more time because they're already established at that place. If you raise your rates constantly, you might hit a point where they're no longer able to work with you or don't want to anymore because they don't see the value in it anymore. That's fine. You move on, you grow, and as you grow, new clients will come in. But I think personally, sometimes we just need the money. Sometimes we need to do jobs, and that's okay. There's a lot of talk about like, oh, it's really bad for the industry, and you're like ruining it for other photographers if the prices are always low. But there is work for everyone at every rate, from 20K shoots to £500 to £200 to £100. There is going to be everything available. It's just that it feels like, because we're very loud about the ones that are really cheap or really like low cost, that's what we hear about all the time. So it's down to personal opinion. Do you need the money? Are you going to starve next month if you don't have it? Do the job. You don't have to share about it. You don't have to post it on Instagram. You don't have to put it in your portfolio. But if you're going to get paid and you're going to feel good about it, that's fine. If you don't need the money, if you're like, actually, I'm fine, I don't need this job, I would rather focus on doing more outreach and really getting in front of the right people for the next month, do that instead. But it's got to come down to a little bit of autonomy and thinking long term as well. What's this going to do for me long term? We're very prone in this day and age to think very short term, but we've got to have a big picture game always.
100%. Yeah, 100%. To kind of switch the topic here, I think you and I would definitely agree that a personal style as a fashion photographer is extremely like essential. It's important to obviously build yourself up and land more clients and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, what would you say to people that are starting out and that haven't found their style yet, so to say? What would you recommend them, what they should do to help them find their style and yeah, find their own messaging and storytelling in their photos?
Yeah. really big topic. And I actually have a whole workshop on this. So if anyone wants to really, really dive into it, there's that there. It's literally called Find Your Style. But the best thing you can do is, believe it or not look at other photography.
Okay.
Like, just stop looking at other photographers because I've seen it time and time again and I've done it myself. I spent years trying to mimic and imitate people that I really liked. And what I ended up doing was creating work that didn't feel at all relevant to me or who I am. So I was taught a very, very good lesson many years ago that the best thing I could do was look within myself for the things I'm interested in without external like influences. So grabbing a piece of paper and literally making a list of all the things that you are particularly drawn to and using that to inspire your shoots. And then using sort of similar color palettes, looking for things that you really are just drawn to constantly and replicating that. What creates a style is repetition and consistency. That is what will generate something that looks the same. If you look at any of the top photographers, they have something they do over and over and over and over and over again. And they do it really well. So you need to find your thing that you love because it's important that you love it because you're going to be doing it a lot. But that will take some experimenting. So when you're trying to figure it out, be okay with trying to do something on a test shoot, for example, and sitting back a few days later and being like, do I really love this? If you didn't love it, if you didn't love the process, it's not part of your style. And that's okay. You do learn and figure that stuff by doing. But don't, if you do love it, great. You put it in your little bank of like, okay, I really enjoyed this. What elements of this can I bring into the next year I do? And that is how that style builds up.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. I guess the little thing would be if you have your own style, how would you avoid being too repetitive with your work? Because obviously you want to have a specific thing that you like, I think specific like style of shooting that you like, but I feel you don't want to completely for every single photo shoot do the exact same thing, like the exact same lighting, exact same whatever. I guess what would you say, what would you recommend to do to kind of like differentiate from that, if that makes sense?
Hmm.
But still have it, but still maintaining that specific style.
Yeah. So I like to think of it as like a little triangle. You've got three things that you sort of stick to, your lighting, your color palette, and then your themes. Maybe one time your theme and your color palette are the same, but you've changed the lighting. Maybe another time you change the theme, but the lighting and the color palette are the same. It
Okay.
will all still feel relevant. So just think of it as a little triangle like that, just switching one thing each time, and it will make it feel cohesive whilst changing things up.
Okay, that's interesting. I like that. The triangle. Okay, that's pretty cool. Um,
Mhm.
what would you say for people, photographers out there that are struggling with and they're struggling with a creative plateau? So there's some people have like they get lack of motivation. For example, with me, I've spoken to other portrait and fashion photographers that have said, "Oh, Joe, I've kind of lost a bit of motivation. I don't know really don't know what to do. Do I even love photography anymore? I don't know what's going on." What would you recommend to those people to get out of that rut of that
Yeah.
plateau and that like lack of motivation?
It happens to all of us. It happens to me all the time. And sometimes it lasts a few months, sometimes it lasts a few days, and it's totally normal. The best thing you can do is allow yourself to feel bored,
Mm.
not force it. So obviously we have jobs to do. Sometimes we do have to go and do a shoot we don't necessarily feel like want to do, but we have to do it. We follow through with our commitments. But in the rest of your time, do other things. Don't think, oh, like how am I going to break through this? Go and do things you like doing that have nothing to do with photography. Go and play the sport you enjoy. Go and hang out with your friends. Go and watch the movies you used to love. Like one of the biggest things I love to do is watch stuff that is so inspiring. We're watching a TV show right now called 1883. If you don't know if you've seen that.
Heard,
Um,
but no.
yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. And we'd been recommended it and I didn't know anything about it, but it's about like the Oregon Trail when people went from Texas to Oregon in the 1800s. And the photography is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like everything's shot a golden hour and it's just beautiful. The costume's amazing. I'm obsessed with it. So I'm just watching it. I don't even care if the story's good. I'm just watching it to watch the visuals. Go and watch stuff that you are just like, oh my God, it's so cool. listen to music you love. Like do stuff that has nothing to do with photography that you just is stimulating and is really fun to you. And that will bring ideas. Because like I said before, your style and your ideas will come from your life, not from anything else. So you have to go and live life to have those ideas come to you.
Okay, that's cool. I feel like I'm expecting like an 1883 photo shoot from you now, like a style photo.
Probably. There'll be an American Wild West themed wagon trail shoot at some point.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I definitely agree with that because I definitely yeah, I've been to like mu I personally recommend like museums and stuff. I go to
Yes.
museums and art galleries and I see like these Renaissance paintings. I'm just like I could recreate that into a photo shoot or something like that.
Yes.
Put a twist on it. I actually did that, but I actually did that last year. One painting that I saw, it was like three people playing checkers. And I
Mhm.
kind of twisted it. I did chess. It was like people wearing suits. So yeah, I feel like 100% like museums, art galleries, like in films, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I want to go back, like again, back to the origins or your origin story. What was your first client as a fashion photographer, and how did you land that job?
Oh
Because
my God. I don't really know, but the one that I can remember that I was really young, I was at uni still, and I was back at home in Switzerland for the summer. And my mum's sister, so my aunt, had a old friend who had started a jewelry brand. And I think I got paid 100 francs, which is like 80 quid, to do this shoot for her. We got up at 5 in the morning to get sunrise, maybe even earlier than that. And it was just me, the woman with her jewelry, and a friend of mine from school who at the time was like my muse. She was who I used as my model for most of my projects because we just had a great time. And some of those images I still really fondly look over. But I remember doing that shoot and thinking, oh my goodness, this feels so legit. Like this feels so cool that I'm doing this and I'm getting paid and I'm having fun and I'm making photos that look amazing. And I went home and I edited them and definitely over edited them like way too much. But the woman loved them and she used them to sell her jewelry. And I loved that so much. How I went about it, it was literally just like a friend of the family, basically, that had seen that I was doing something, needed some photos, and kind of wanted to give me a little something to say thank you. So she paid me a little something. I would have done it for free because I was just excited to do it and have fun and play. And I was very privileged. I didn't need the money. I was at a point where my parents are still sort of very much helping me. So full acknowledgement that I was not having to hustle and like survive. Um, but yeah, that was just through talking about it and sharing my work and openly sharing that I was doing stuff. And that's how people saw what I was doing at the time and they approached me.
that's really cool. That's cool. Jewelry, nice. I was okay. Let's say you're starting from completely scratch right now. Today, you got no portfolio, you got none of that, no connections. What would you do to make the fastest progress possible right now? So what would you do right now to start landing clients, start creating like a living out of fashion photography? What would you do right now?
Yeah. So starting from scratch, let's say you've already got the camera skills. You know how to use a camera, you're happy with the camera. Don't necessarily need to know lighting or anything, but you know how to use a camera. First step, figure out your style. Spend time working that out, getting really clear on what you want to say. That style can change over time. It doesn't have to be stuck in stone. People's styles will shift. You look at any of the big photographers, they have changed what they're shooting over the years. There's still core elements that stay the same, but they've changed what they do. Then, once you've understood your style, you build a portfolio of that work. That is all you need to focus on. Style, build a portfolio. Like I said, you can do that really fast. You need like 5, 6 shoots in your portfolio to be able to go and market it to brands. That's all it needs to be because brands don't need to see that you can shoot a million images. They just need to see that you can do something cohesive and that they're going to get quality results from you. So you do that. 3 months, 5 shoots. If you want to like speed it up, you can do that. If not, you take a little bit more time. You want to do one a month over 5 months, that's fine. Once you've got that portfolio, there's no point in just blasting it over Instagram and hoping that it's going to get you work. None at all. Because Unless you're really lucky and you go mega viral and you're hitting all the right clients, which is unlikely because most of the time photographers go viral because they're marketing themselves to other photographers. That's also fine if that's what you want to do. But if you want to get clients, you need to go direct to the client. And that is why I teach so much about email marketing and pitching, because that's the quickest way. You're literally showing up in their inbox with your work and saying, hey, I'm here. This is my work. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to work with you. And as a nutshell, once you've done that, you also at the same time kind of simultaneously need to work out your pricing system and make sure that you've got a system that works really well for your lifestyle. And people always ask me all the time, like, what should I be charging? What should I be charging? I can't tell you because everyone's got different financial needs. So you have to figure out yourself what you want to charge so that you can support your individual lifestyle. Once you've done that, you've literally got a photography business. And all you need to do is just repeat over and over again. Like I've been doing the same thing for years.
Nice. Okay, so you would say it's quite simple then, isn't it? It's just
Yeah,
like getting those shoots, find that style, and then it's just about building upon that, and
yeah.
then outreach and talking to other photographers about
Yeah.
that.
And you just keep doing it. Like when you're doing all the outreach and the pitching, you keep shooting, adding more stuff to your portfolio. You reiterate, you keep learning, you keep adding to it so that you have new work to show them. And then you switch out your portfolio work. You just, because some of it will no longer feel relevant. It won't feel like it's as good anymore. You switch it out, you keep adding to it. And you just repeat the process over and over again. It sounds so simple. And of course, there's so much nuance that goes into all those details. But at its core, that's all you need to do. Find your style, shoot a portfolio, network, done.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, let's say they follow your advice now. They've reached out to a clothing brand or something like that, and they actually land the job. They've got a
Yeah.
job now, land the job, it's exciting, first job ever. What would you say, like, what do you say are some essential steps or tips they need to make, like before, during, and like after the shoot to make them look as professional and as capable as possible as
hmm
fashion photographer? So like stuff like maybe like etiquette tips, like communication tips, how you carry yourself on set, when should you give them the photos, all that type of stuff.
Mm. So beforehand, getting very clear on the deliverables is really important. So asking very clearly, what do you want from this shoot? Exactly how many images do you want? Getting an estimate to them of how much your costing is going to be. So it's not necessarily a quote because the estimates mean that prices can fluctuate, costs can change. For example, maybe you end up having to hire an extra light on the day. As long as you okay it with the client on the day, that quote might end up being a little bit higher on your invoice, right? Send that over. That's important. Get it approved, either with a signature or just an email and writing saying that, you're good. Then on the shoot day, I always say I like to arrive at least 15 minutes before the shoot time, just so that I'm not rushing in at the last minute. I'm a little bit mental and I tend to arrive like 45 minutes early because I'm really paranoid. You don't need to be as paranoid as me, but make sure you've got a little bit of time so you're not setting your arrival time when you're like checking how long it's going to take you to get there at the shoot time start. Um, Smile at everyone, say hello to everyone, go and shake everyone's hand, like be genuinely interested in everybody there. No matter who they are, say hi and say to everyone. Check in with the models if you're not working with inanimate objects, of course. Go and say hi to them, speak to them, ask them how they are, check that they're all right, that they're happy. One of the things I always like to do with models, especially, is, are they fed? Do they have water? Are they warm enough? A lot of the time in the UK, especially, we're working in studios that can be a bit cold. So making sure that they feel comfortable. They are going to make or break that image. So they need to really trust you and feel like you're looking after them. It's not necessarily your job to do that, but it really does help. And then what else could it be? Like tips on set? Just communication all the time. Definitely tether. If you're not shooting to a computer, that's vital. The client needs to be able to see what your work is looking like on the screen, not just so that they can like critique it, but so they can see what they might need to change. Like maybe the shirt is sitting wrong, or the stylist needs to jump in, or the makeup's like slightly got a bit patchy and the makeup artist needs to jump in and fix that. Those are all things that need to be done. And then post shoot. I like to send an email the next day just saying thank you so much for having me. I think that's a really polite thing to do and just say thank you. And then the way that we work on most of my shoots is I get the client while we're on set to do selections as much as they can, even if it's just hitting like 5 stars, be like, love that one, love that one, love that one, love that one. They don't necessarily get to do every single shot and like go through them all. So I send them a Capture One library where they can look through the images and make their selection in their own time. I tell all my clients that as soon as I get their selections back, I have 2 weeks to get the results back to them, the images back to them, because I work with retouchers and it takes, like, I've got other shoots on, so I can't necessarily deliver within 24 hours. So, very clearly, again, before you've even done the shoot, communicate that once you receive their selection back, not 2 weeks after the shoot date, 2 weeks after the selection gets back to you, that is how long you have to deliver. Often takes me way less time than that. I can deliver way quicker. But what we don't want to do is overpromise and underdeliver. We want to overpromise and overdeliver.
100%. Nice. Back to that, like you said about like tether cable on the computer. What would you do if what happens if you're shooting film, for example? Because have you
Yeah.
shot you've shot film before, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. So I shoot film for clients, and that is obviously a different situation. If the client has specifically requested film, you can't tether. What you can do, and what I do for most of my film shots, and I don't do a lot of film for commercial clients, to be completely honest, but if we are, I'll shoot a digital test. What they used to do back in the day was shoot a Polaroid, and that would be how they would test it and sort of show off what it's going to look like vaguely. These days, we can do the same thing with a digital camera. So just taking a digital shot, trying to emulate what it will look like on the film so that the client can be like, oh yeah, cool, looking great, love the lighting, love the posing. And then you can go ahead and do your film shots and they've sort of approved it. I think that's the best way to do it.
Nice. Okay, cool. Is is there anything else you can add on to that? Is there any other maybe tips during set or anything like that? Or
Um, Planning is like before you get there is essential. So definitely making sure you're really aware that what you're shooting and what the clothes are going to be like. Planning your lighting setups is really important. Having a real clear diagram of what you want to do. So that, yeah, when you're on set, all you need to really be thinking about is the shots and taking your time with it. Communication, like I've said that so many times, but it's really, really clear that you need to communicate with the model, talk to them, interact with them, talk to the whole team. If something isn't working because of, the client wants something and actually it's just not working visually, or you haven't got quite the right equipment for that, communicating that, explaining why it's not working, but not just saying it's not working and then leaving them with like a problem. Be a problem solver. Like, what can you suggest that's going to make it better if that doesn't work? Always being like, okay, well, this isn't working, but what if we tried this? Most of the time, they don't know what they can do, what you can do. They have no idea. They're not photographers. So you need to be the one that suggests, we'll try this. Let me know if you like it. If you don't, we'll figure out another solution.
nice. And the thing you're talking about communicating with models too, I say this in my videos all the time. It's so crucial to understand how to communicate with models, make them feel comfortable, make them feel confident and everything like that. Because I feel like a lot of photographers, they're so fixated on the camera, the
Yeah.
light, how good that is everything good, composure or whatever, right? Um, but they don't think about the person who they're taking the photo of. They don't think about the person in front of them, and they don't
Yeah.
realize the actual people. So yeah, that's I'm very happy that you kind of mentioned that because that kind of like helps my point as well when I say in my videos that like you're taking pictures of real people.
Yeah, yeah. One
Real,
of I remember years and years ago learning a tip. I think it was Richard Avedon, who, when he was starting out or when he was shooting people, he shot exclusively on a tripod. And it wasn't because he needed stability necessarily. It was because he wanted to be able to actually look at the model and talk to the model, not be looking through the lens. So if you're really struggling with communication, that might be something to try, is literally put your camera on a tripod, set up your shot, and then all you have to do is stand there and press the button and you talk to the model. I know a lot of people who do that and it really works for them if they're struggling to. One of the problems I sometimes have, and I have to remember, is I'm not very loud. I'm quite softly spoken. So if I'm behind my camera, I can be talking and I can be communicating, but too quietly. So then the model's like, can't hear you. And I'm like, crap, talk louder. So I have to remind myself to like speak up and use my voice a bit more.
Cool. That's so cool. Yeah, yeah, 100%. I've got some questions from the members in my community. They had some questions. They couldn't make it today because most of them are from America. So like the time zone right now is like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. So
Yeah, yeah.
we've got some questions here. One question is, how important is pitching to you? So how much of your work comes from pitching, and would you recommend beginners, would you recommend beginners to pitch even if their portfolio is in those growing stages and it isn't, it's kind of, well, quote unquote, like lackluster, it isn't the best it can be, would you still recommend
Mhm.
pitch?
Yes, absolutely. I still get like 90% of my new clients through pitching. That's how everyone comes to me and finds me, is because I reach out to them. It's very rare that someone just discovers me. It happens, but it's more rare. When you're starting out, one of the problems that people find is they've built a portfolio that is like really good, but they still look at it and go, "Ah, it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough." If you never bite the bullet and just start putting yourself out there, you'll never do it. You just have to at some point just go, okay, I'm just going to take a bit of a leap of faith and start putting it out there. With pitching, just know that you are not going to get responses immediately, and it's going to be a long-term game. That is, you can get very quick results. Like I was really lucky with my pitching. That's how I started doing it, was because I got a reply really quickly and I got work. And I'm so grateful that I did that because it changed my life. But most of it is going to be a long process. So you're building relationships. We are working with people, and they don't tend to just go immediately book someone that they've never heard of and never spoken to and never had any interaction with. So show off what you can do now. And it might just be that you start on smaller shoots and then you build your way up. But building those connections is so important. Even if you don't get booked immediately, you are planting the seed, you're getting your work, your name in front of the right people. And as you grow, you continue to send more work, they'll see your progression. And a no right now might not mean no in a year, 2 years. It might be like, oh my God, you've grown so much. This is fantastic. This is perfect. This is the right time right now that we need someone specifically doing exactly what you're doing. So start reaching out as soon as you can. If you are scared of reaching out to the biggest brands, you don't need to go straight to Chanel. Start with like, the brands that are maybe local to you, that you know of, do some research and find people that you know you can help right in this second that you feel confident reaching out to. But I really want to encourage people to push themselves and sort of go beyond what they think, because most of the time you're way more capable than you think you are. And a lot of photographers worry that they are going to land a job that's way out of their depth, that they're going to be able to like, they're going to arrive on set and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. You will never get booked on something you haven't shown that you can do. They will only book you for something you've already proven that you can do in your portfolio. So if you've done it once, you can do it again. So don't let that fear of like, oh my God, I'm going to be on this huge set with all these people. And I don't know what to do. You'll be fine. If you've done it before, you can do it again.
100%, 100%. And on the topic of growing relationships in the industry, out of like every position there is in the industry, so there's like creative directors, producers, editors, or like studio owners, something like that. Would you say there's a specific role that is most important to gain a relationship with? So is it more important to have a relationship with a creative director compared to a producer or an editor? Is there like a specific one, do you think, that is like you should focus on networking with as a fashion photographer?
There's not one that like outweighs the others, because the truth is that a lot of brands will call different roles different names. So one brand will call the creative director a producer, and another brand will call them a creative director, and their sort of roles will sort of blend. So as long as you're reaching out to as many people as possible and building relationships with people who are in the jobs that hire photographers, they're all important. So don't just focus on just creative directors. If you find it easier to manage your pitching by, okay, on this day, I'm going to just email creative directors to make my life, my organized brain easier, do that. But don't just focus on them, because you could be missing out on so many other people who hire photographers.
Mhm. Yeah, cool. What would you say? Because recently you've been using AI in your work, like mixed media and all that type of stuff. What's your opinion on AI in photography? Because I know people personally and online, I've seen that like they say, "Oh, AI is terrible. It's cheating. It's not real art." all that type
Yeah.
of stuff. But obviously, you've created pr amazing works of art with AI, and it looks. I really like it, and I'm thinking, I don't think you're cheating, so per se, or anything like that. So, what's your opinion on AI, and what's the extent it should go to in photography?
This is a difficult topic for me to talk about because I am definitely biased. Like, we gotta be completely real. I enjoy using it. So I'm not gonna have a negative opinion of it because that would be really weird, right? I started playing with it about a year and a half ago, specifically Mid-Journey, because I was seeing it propping up. It was showing up in the news, and I was like, what is this? And I am someone that believes positively rather than negatively. And I thought, okay, I need to know what these tools are because this is coming, whether we like it or not. I need to be a step ahead and I need to understand how these work. So I took a little course. I literally signed up to a little course and I learned the basics. And initially, all I was doing was using it for mood boarding, and that was already fantastic for me. And clients loved it because I was suddenly able to take my ideas in my head and somewhat make them into visuals that could showcase what I had in mind. And they loved it. The tools have come on so much now to the point where I am able to use AI generated imagery that I blend with my images. So I'm able to enhance the images that I'm doing for my clients really easy and really quickly in new ways that I could never have done before. I particularly love creating sort of fantastical environments and magical worlds. So for me, it makes total sense. But it's not going to necessarily work for everyone. And not every brand is going to want AI to be used either. There are going to be brands that want to stay completely pure and use just film photographers, and they want to stay with something that's really, really grounded in physicalness. And then there are other brands who are going to be like, oh my God, we love all the tech. We're going to go all in on AI. Then there'll be others that kind of use a bit of both. And it's okay for anyone to decide they want to be one way or the other. There are some photographers that will go fully AI and they'll stop shooting and they'll just generate imagery. It's the Wild West out there still. There is so much legislation that needs to come in. There is so much, we don't even, I mean, the environmental impact of it needs to be spoken about. There needs to be so much work on generating more imagery with less environmental impact in all those ways. So there's so much, and I could talk about it for hours, but I am really enjoying how I'm using it personally because what I'm doing is using it to turn it into a physical object. So all the AI work that I'm doing, I am transforming them and by printing them physically out and making them tangible things. Because for me, I was like, well, I'm making all these images, but what's the point? They're just sitting on the computer. And so that was how I kind of started doing what I'm doing, and I'm really enjoying it. And clients are also really looking at it and they are thinking to the future. A lot of my clients are coming to me and saying, we're curious. What can we do with this tool? How can we use it? What do you suggest? And they're looking to me as an expert to show them what I can do. So just this month, the January in 2025, I've had 3 clients come to me wanting AI work done because they're curious. So it is out there, and it's up to us to decide whether we want to use it, embrace it, learn it, or completely ignore it. And I don't think there's a good or bad answer to that. It's personal.
Okay, cool. So, so with your work, with the AI work, is it the images itself? Is that photos that you've taken and then they're enhanced by AI, and then you put obviously you draw on it and stuff like that? What is that? Can you explain to me like the process behind that?
Yeah, it's a mix. So some of the images are completely AI generated, so I'm prompting completely. I train all of my imagery on my own work. So I actually input some of my own images that I've taken and I'll use it as a base if I need to. And then I sometimes will, if I like the image I've generated, if I want it to be a piece, I'll print it out, paint on it, scan it back in, and that'll become a piece. And they're all physical objects. Like I can show you them here. Like they're literally in this little booklet
So
that
cool.
come with me. So they're physical pieces. Other times, what I have been doing, and this is becoming easier now, is taking images that I shoot in a studio on location, and then either bringing them into an AI software where I enhance them with adding in florals or adding in some kind of environment, and then refining that in post-production, or also with mixed media, painting on it, drawing on it. And the times I'm generating like assets, if you will, and then I'm using them in Photoshop to blend them in, and I'm collaging with them. So that's how I'm using it. Loads of people are doing different things. There's going to be a point where we can just sort of create an AI model and then drop a dress onto it, and it'll just seamlessly blend in, and you won't even need to do a photo shoot, which is mad to think that we'll be able to do that. And we kind of already can do that, so it's definitely possible. But yeah, crazy world. It's going to be the next decade, I think, is going to be fascinating to watch. And I think the whole world of photography is going to change, but it's about who wants to have a positive mindset about that and sort of embrace it and enjoy it and use it how they want to and build their business around the tools that they need specifically rather than the ones they don't.
Yeah. Especially as I was thinking, as AI gets us more advanced and is better and it's being used more, that also comes back to that point of like it's even more important now to find your style and
Yeah.
finding that specific way of shooting because the way of shooting because I feel like again with AI people can just recreate what you've done. But
Yeah.
if you have a style, a specific thing that you like to do, it's quite hard for AI or anything like that to replicate that. So yeah, it all comes down to finding your style and
Yeah.
also it all comes down to that.
Literally, that's the foundation of everything.
100%, 100%. Actually, can I ask you one more question
Of
before
course.
you go for the YouTube and stuff? I was gonna say, um, what would you recommend for photographers to do to improve their photography without actually doing photography, if that makes sense? Like, if anything outside of photography that they could do to maybe help with their well-being, find out what they really like to shoot or whatever, something like that, if that makes any sense. Or,
Yeah. I think it's similar to what I said earlier when you're stuck in a rut and you don't really know what to shoot. It's go out and do things that are fun and that you enjoy that have nothing to do with photography and just allow yourself to fully enjoy those activities. That's really important. I have so many other things that I do outside of photography. Like I'm a massive Formula One fan. I love reading. I love walking with my dog. And those things really enrich my life. You might not have any clue how Formula One influences my work, and it doesn't really, but it's just a hobby and that is something I love, and that enriches my life, and that makes me feel good, and it energizes me. I think that's really important as well. And taking downtime and allowing yourself to rest and not feeling like you have to constantly be working is really, really important. One thing I will say when it comes to the business side of things is to learn from industries that are not just photography. I've learned a lot of what I've learned by reading business books that have nothing to do with our industry and learning from, and this is sort of like counterintuitive for me to say as a photography educator, but don't just learn from me, like learn from people who teach graphic design, who teach uh, English, who teach all kinds of things and read stuff and learn stuff that are in industries that are completely not ours because you might get ideas and little tidbits of things that you can apply to photography that you would never have otherwise thought about.
nice, sick. Before you go, I just want to quickly ask about the Fashion Photography Club. You got that coming out very soon. Give me, can we get some details on that, more details on that beyond what you sent in like emails and stuff like that? Like, let me know what specifically you're planning on doing. What's your plan?
Yeah. No, at the club, I'm super excited about the Fashion Photography Club because it's been something that has been asked for years. I get asked constantly about one-to-one coaching and can I have a sort of portfolio review? So I was trying to think of a way that I could give people a sense of access to me and a little bit more support, but as many people as possible because there are a lot of people that need help. So what I've created is a program that contains all of my courses. So the foundation, what we talked about of find your style, build your portfolio, pitch to brands, and figure out that pricing. I have very extensive courses that cover that entire process. So the whole framework of going from zero to full-blown business fashion photographer is there. But on top of that, we'll have monthly calls where we don't just learn something, we actually practice and take action on the things that are in the courses because I don't want people to just sign up to courses and then not do them. I want them to action them. So it will be things like we're going to spend time pitching on calls together. We're going to build shoot ideas and plans together. We're going to forecast for finances. We're going to plan goals. And I'm going to facilitate those calls where we actually do the stuff. There's also going to be a chance for people to ask questions. So weekly support. I will answer questions on a weekly basis. So let's say on a Sunday you want to submit a question, you've had something come in, you're like, oh, I'm having a mindset wobble, or I need help with pricing this job. You can ask a question and I will get back to you. I am planning on bringing other photographers down the line into the course as well to also work alongside me as coaches. So that will be, it won't just be learning from me, which I think is really valuable. That will be down the line though. There's also a private podcast. So what I do at the moment, it will be like kind of like what we're doing now, where I have a thought or I want to sort of talk about something in more extensive, or like maybe I see a question that's coming in loads and loads. I will do a longer podcast on that, which means I can do timely, very quick teaching. And it's going to be 12 months. So once you're in, you get access to all of that stuff for 12 months. And the idea is that you follow the roadmap of going from zero to full-blown fashion photographer in a year and turn you into a photographer that clients just cannot say no to. Like they just absolutely desperate to work with you because you've built such a strong business and a strong foundation that you can't be ignored.
Okay, that's cool. I'll definitely be checking it out because I'm planning on joining that. So
Ah, can't wait to have you.
on the next whatever call, coaching call, whatever you have going on there. So
Yeah, amazing.
thank you, Olivia. I really appreciate you joining here. Thank you for te giving out your knowledge to my subscribers. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming along. Uh,
Oh.
guys, don't forget to check out Olivia's social media. She has a new fashion photography club coming out as well. You should definitely check that out. That's been releasing soon. And yeah, that is it. Check out our social media, check out our portfolio. And yeah, thank
Thank you so much for having me.